I look at my life, there are things that I have, many things that I have caught myself saying I'm committed to, and I'm saying it. And I'm saying it to everybody, whoever will listen, as often as they'll let me say it. But if I look at my actions, a lot of what I'm saying I'm committed to is not demonstrated in my actions. Because many things that I would like to be committed to, they are time requiring of me. They require my focus, my attention. They require me to take my eyes and my habits off of certain other things and put them on that. So I remember years and years ago, I was saying to my mom, "Doggone it, Mom, man, I want to learn Spanish more than anything." She said, "You do not, boy." I said, "Why are you saying that? You need to have some faith in me." She said, "I just want you to know what I see. You're my son. I watch you. I watch you closely. I see you for 2 weeks, be really excited, studying your Spanish every day, calling me up, 'Mom, I put 2 hours in today.' And I go, 'Okay, make sure you keep on.' And all of a sudden, the calls get less and less, and until I have to call you. 'How are you coming with your Spanish?' 'Oh, Mom, I've been so busy lately. You know, there's so much going on right now. I haven't, to be honest with you, I haven't looked at my Spanish text, and I haven't, played my tapes or anything for the last 3 weeks. I've just been so busy.' Busy with what? 'Oh, Mom, there's so much going on.' Do you still have time to watch your shows?" Because she knew I liked watching Bonanza. I was a Bonanza fanatic. She knew I liked watching Oprah. She knew I liked watching a couple of the cooking shows. "Have you learned any more recipes?" "Oh yeah, I learned 3 or 4 of them. I can share them with you when I get over there." "And how's little Joe doing?" "Oh my God, Mom. There was an episode where he got thrown from his horse," and I give her all the details. "And who's been on Oprah?" And I tell her who's been on there and all that. And then she goes, "Yeah, you've been so busy. You've been so busy attending to the things that really are important to you. You don't want to stand up and say, 'I would like to announce to the world that the things that are really important to me are watching Bonanza, watching cooking shows, and watching Oprah.' No, I would rather tell the world some convictions that aren't really true. And as long as I tell myself they're true, they will never become true. Because in telling myself I am fully convicted to doing this or that or the other, just in the telling it, my job is done. I remember one time when I really was learning Spanish and I really was committed to practicing every day. And I ran into some people that I hadn't seen in a while, and they're Spanish-speaking people, and I got to use my Spanish with them, and they got to cheer me, and they got to say, "Keep on." But having their satisfaction was enough. So I put my book aside. I made them happy. I have known people, as I said last week, there are 3 couples who are in crises and that are in my inner circle in Western Mass and in New York City. And in my counsel with these people, they acknowledge, these couples, that they got into doing what's called fake it till you make it. They were not a unit, but they presented as a unit. They didn't really know each other deeply. They're really sharing the details of what was in their hearts and minds, but they presented as though they had. And I told you last time I was here that if you went on Facebook, you would see idealized versions of what a couple could be. And so I was stunned and shocked and amazed when I discovered that their presentation was nothing at all like the picture of the reality of their relationship. Because sometimes if you fake it till you make it, there will be no need to make it. Because faking it is so fun, and you have everyone convinced, and it becomes your comfort zone. So just now, at this critical time in these 3 couples' relationship lives. They are just now doing the work. And first they had to acknowledge, we are not who we have appeared to be. Just like my Spanish, my life shows what I'm committed to. All you have to do is be a fly on the wall of my house and you can see the things that draw my attention, the things that draw my interest, the things I give my time to. And a lot of what you would see, as I said before, would be Carlos watching Bonanza and Oprah and cooking shows. When I've told people that I meditate for an hour and a half a day, I've reminded people that this is a true commitment for me. This is something that I've done for years, and quite frankly, I've done it because I convinced myself that I can't live without it. When Timothy and I were in India, we were shocked and blown away by the fact that all of the little people with their little markets, all of the beggars on the street, the marketeers could hawk their products and convince you and haggle with you prices in English, in Hindi, in Islam, in Italian, in French. And I said, how do you know so many languages? And they said, you would too if your life depends upon it. So even the beggars, they knew that there were particular seasons where people would come into this particular town where Satya Sai Baba's temple was. And during one season, the Italians would come. If you're going to beg from an Italian, you need to speak Italian. Through another phase, the French would come. If you want to beg from a French person, you need to know French. They were speaking to Timothy and I in fluent English, whether they were begging or whether they were hawking their products or whether they were explaining the sordid conditions of their existence. They had to know English to communicate with us. And on and on. And Timothy and I remember once sitting in the dust on the side of the road going, wow, that's why I don't know Spanish and French and Italian and Hindi and Islam. My life doesn't depend upon it. But one thing I learned is that my life truly does depend upon meditation. So when people say, how can you give an hour and a half a day to making God contact? To getting away from everything else in your world, sitting still, closing your eyes, taking deep breaths, and connecting with the source of all of your good, connecting with the Almighty One who is enlivening you. Like, where do you get the time? I say I watch one less cooking show. And I no longer do Bonanza marathons. I watch them every other time, maybe 2 or out of every 5 times they're on. And I let other people catch me up on what Oprah's doing. There is time enough to do everything anybody wants to. But the deal for us is to become honest about what is essential for us. In the Bible, there's a story of a man who, for 38 years, he was lame, he could not walk. And for 38 years, he dragged his cart, crawling through the dust, to get to a pool. Because the belief of the people at that time was that at this one particular pool, at a certain time of the year, the angels of God would enter into the water of that pool, and whoever got in first would be healed. This guy crawled there for 38 years, hoping to be the one to get in the water so that he might be healed. But he never made it. On his 38th year of doing this, Jesus shows up. He sees Jesus walking toward him from a distance, and he'd never seen anything more beautiful in his life. He had never seen a human being who looked like a God, who was so radiant that it paled the sun in comparison. He knew that his salvation was walking toward him. And so Jesus gets there, and the guy reaches up. My Savior has come. He'll pick me up. He'll get me in that water first. But But Jesus didn't reach down and grab the guy and lift him to his feet. Instead, Jesus squatted down and asked the guy a question. Will you be made whole? I was fantasized that the guy says, what a silly question. Will I be made whole? Why else would I drag myself to this pool for 38 years? Who is this clown asking such a silly, ridiculous question? But he answers, yes, I will be made whole. And then he does what Carlos has done. He starts giving his excuses for not having been whole. You see, I really want to be whole, but the best I can do is drag myself here. And I want to get into the water, but as you can see, I can't walk. And so I keep hoping that someone will come along and help me into the water. But one thing I've noticed in these 38 years, everybody wants their own healing. They are looking and focused on their own healing, so nobody cares about me. You would think that someone would have pity on me. I'm obviously the victim of my own circumstances. But people walk right over me, dude. Some of them run across my legs to get in that pool. Yes, I want to be whole, but. Yes, I want to be whole, but. Yes, I want to be whole, but. And Jesus says again, having heard all that, he acknowledged none of it. Will you be made whole? The guy wasn't finished. He gives more excuses. Of course I want to be whole. Can't you see? Aren't I demonstrating that by just being here? You know, there's one thing I've noticed in all of my years of preaching and teaching and all of my years in churches, ever since I was a little bitty boy, there are a lot of people who think they want to be whole but don't want to be whole. They want to come to all the healing services. They want you to lay hands on them and speak in tongues. They want to sign up and get you to give them some Reiki. They want to go to a chiropractor. They want to go to a healer, but do they want to be whole? If you ask them to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, no, they don't want to be whole. Why? We'll get to that. Here's Jesus. Dude, enough with the excuses. I'm asking you a question. Look into your heart and answer me. Will you be made whole? And the guy says, yes. He now knows the answer this guy wants. Yes. And with that, he reaches up, expecting Jesus now to lift him up. But Jesus stands up, and instead of leaning in, Jesus steps back and says, get up. If you want to be whole, get up. Even if you think you can't get up. Even if for 38 years you've been convinced that you really want to get up, you've never gotten up. Because you're bound by your ideas of the limitations that are imposed upon you from inside or outside. You don't care where they come from. You just love the fact that you have the alibi and the excuse for not being all you can be. What they did to you when you were a kid. What they didn't do for you when you were a kid. What happened to you. The things that occurred, the molestation, the abuse, the dysfunction. We find those stories to be our treasures. And they weigh us down. And they keep us crawling. But boy, do we love them. They're our comfort zone. Get up. It occurred to the guy that Jesus believed something about him that he didn't believe about himself. That within him, regardless of the appearances of things seen, he had within him the power to get up. And he got up. And Jesus said, take up your bed and walk. I believe that he told this guy to take up his bed because the bed is the old story of how I'm fractured. Jesus wanted him to put that thing, carry it over his head, and walked through the village so that everybody could see. He is now carrying what he once laid on. It's his story of victory. How I got up. How I overcame. Some of us are making some efforts toward getting up, but not all the effort that we can. In my Buddhist teachings, there's a story of a student who came to his Buddhist master. He said, "Master, I want to be free of all my limitations and all of my victim consciousness more than anything." And the master says, "More than anything? More than anything. Have you given it your all?" "I give it my all." But still you've not been free. You've not become free of your limitations, your self-imposed limitations, your victim consciousness. "No, I haven't. I don't know what the deal is." And the master says, "Follow me down to the river." And so he takes his student down to the river, grabs him by the hand, and walks down into the midst of the water. The disciple doesn't know what's going on. So the teacher says, "Get on your knees." The guy gets on his knees, which puts the water right up to his chest. And the master reaches out and puts his hands on top of the student's head and begins to gently, gently push him down, pushing his head beneath the water. The student goes, "Wow, a baptism, a quick dunk, and then I'll be whole." But the master pushes him all the way under, and the student begins to realize, he's had me under here for a while. I'm pretty good at holding my breath, but dag, this is a test. And so he nudges up against his master's hands, like, you need to let me up now. But the master doesn't pay any attention to his nudging. He just holds him down. At some point, the student becomes panic-stricken because he knows he's got to take a breath. His lungs are ready to burst, holding in the air. And he knows if he takes in a breath, he will surely drown. And the teacher, the master, doesn't even seem to realize what's going on. So he begins to push up harder and harder. But the master keeps him down. And finally, with all of his might, he braces the bottoms of his heels into the sand at the bottom of that river. And with all of his strength, he pushes up so hard that the master can't hold him down. And he comes out of the water. And he looks at the master horrified. "What the heck were you doing? Were you trying to kill me?" The master said, "No. Just making a point. When you want to be free of your victim consciousness and your littleness and your excuses, as much as you wanted a breath of air, then you'll have it." I think about that story a lot since my first Buddhist teacher taught it to me. It lets me catch myself making up that I'm doing something with all of my heart. I mean, I may give a nudge or two, but I still, part of me believes that I can breathe underwater. Underwater being under the influence of victim consciousness. Oh, woe is me. Behold the story of my pain, as the Course in Miracles said. We love walking around with a banner. Behold the story of my pain. Read what they have done to me, how they wronged me, how he cheated on me a week after we got married with my best friend. Behold the story of my pain. How my parents didn't give me a good education. How my dad wasn't there. How my mom was a drunk. Behold how I suffer at the hands of my lot in life. Being underwater, drowning, rather than pushing up with all of our heart, all of our soul, all of our mind, and all of our spirit. So Jesus represents the holiness in me. I always say Jesus, he's us. He claims he's us. He said, when you've seen the least of these, you've seen me. How you treat your brother or your sister is how you treat me. Guess what? Because I am them. So for me, Jesus means he's us. All of us. And so he represents the I am within me. And the I am with me is constantly catching me laying on my bed of victim consciousness. When the crap hits the fan, when that person I like doesn't like me, when that job I wanted, they didn't hire me, the whatever, he sees me laying on this bed going, wow, if I have to drag myself here once a year for 38 years, I gotta do it because it shows how much I wanna be healed. No, it doesn't. What shows is our willingness to get up in the midst of our circumstances, not to wait for they're over until that's over. When I find my significant other, then I'll be up. When he apologizes, then I'll get up. When she notices me, boy, then I'll get up. When I have my own home, I'll get up. Ooh, you wait to see me dance. I have a dance in me that is ready to come out in the very moment that all my hopes and dreams are realized. Dance now. Shout now. Say hallelujah now.
Hallelujah.
Sing now.
All right, don't wait.
There is a power within us that is greater than all of our excuses, greater than the story of our pain. I'll end with these lyrics that I was so blessed to have come through me years ago when I was one of the music directors for Unity on the Bay in Miami. I believe it was 1980 or 81, when I got visited in a dream by that shining one who visited that man on that street. And these are the lyrics that were left with me. Like a light-filled dream on a lonely night that made me feel I could be all right. He came to me. He rained on me. His words of love and holy light. He planted dreams, then off he went. The shining one whom God had sent. I can still recall the things he said and those he raised from crippling beds. And still I hear the gentle voice that calls on me to make the choice to keep the story of my pain or to be free to live again. I know he lives in me. And knowing this, I know I'm free to raise up new life from the dead, to heal the nations, as he said. His words had touched some place in me that made me live, that made me free to do and be all that I know. He leads me now. With him I go into the world to heal and bless, to demonstrate God consciousness. I know he lives in me. And knowing this, I know I'm free to raise up new life from the dead, to heal the nations, as he said. I know it's me he's living as, to bring the greater things to pass, that all might know, that all shall see the shining one alive in me. Look closely now, and you will see the shining one alive in me. Look closely, you will see he lives in me. It's the best day ever, and I will not change my